Okay, so we're ready to query our database. So you should have installed the script, the My Guitar Shop database. It should be installed before you attempt this exercise. So the first thing you're going to want to do is connect to the server. So there's an icon here. It's a plug, and it just says connect to the Connect Object Explorer. And it's going to connect to SQL Server, and then we just click connect. The next thing we want to do is open up a query window, and the query window is where we're going to be typing our instructions. So I just simply clicked new query right up here where the menu icons are located. Now we're going to be running queries against the My Guitar Shop database, and you've already installed that. So I'm going to I'm going to click into the query window, and that's going to make things visible. It's going to make things come alive. Then I'm going to drop down and select the My Guitar Shop database. So now the queries that I run will be running against this My Guitar Shop database. Now, first thing I want to show you is comments. Now, there are two ways that you can make comments in SQL Server. There's a single line comment, and that's just two dashes. So single line comment is just simply two dashes. Now I'm going to attempt to make my font larger. So I just need to get my mouse over here, and in the lower left corner of the window where I'm working, I'm just going to increase the percentage to 150%. Okay, so I just simply typed two dashes, and that's going to cause SQL Server to ignore anything you type after the two dashes. It's not going to attempt to execute that. It's going to treat it like a comment. And then another kind of comment is a multi-line comment in SQL, and that's a forward slash asterisk asterisk forward slash. Now, anything you type between here will also be treated like a comment. And this line and that line and that line. So it's a multi-line comment. Okay, so let's go ahead, and now we're ready to write our first query. So whenever you write a query, and I'm just going to delete that because we're finished with it. Now, for this course, you're going to have exercises 1 through whatever for that week. So if I tell you to write a query for exercise 1, you're going to need to comment like this so I can see that, okay, you are completing exercise 1, and your statements after that is going to be your query. So you're just going to type a double dash and then the 1 for the exercise number, and then go to the next line and write the query statements. But when I open up your submission, your .SQL file, I should be able to just look at it and run it. And I shouldn't have to make any changes to get your SQL query to run. So you don't want to put your SQL statements up here next to the 1, because then they'll be ignored by SQL Server. So you want to put them on a line that's not commented. Okay, so how do we type SQL statements? Well, what we're going to be doing, a query is a request. It's a question to the database. So a query is a question to the database. and you're going to question the database. Hey, database, do you have this information that I'm requesting? So we're going to query the database. And to query a database, you have to type statements in a certain order in SQL. You have to ask for what you want, and we use what we call a select statement. So we're saying select these items from the database. So we say select, and we list the items we want from the database right here after the select statement. Oh, this is not part of the syntax. I'm just creating an underline here so you know that after the select statement is where we list the items that we want. Then we say from, and we list the table or tables that we're selecting from. Notice the red underline is saying, hey, there's a problem here. And that's because table is not valid, and neither is this underline valid. Then we say where. We use the clause where. So select from. Now, where is optional. If you just type select from, that's valid, and it should run. Now, where is optional. Where allows us to filter the criteria that we're retrieving from the database. So we can say where, and then we would list some condition here, where some condition or conditions are met. So we select from a table or tables. And normally when we select, we're selecting columns. So we normally list the columns here that we're selecting from the table. We list any conditions. Then we can order by one of the columns. Now an order is just a sort. Order by just means sorted by these columns. So we can say order by column A, or order sorted by the last name. But we don't know that last name even exists on a table. We haven't even listed a table. Okay, so now let's go ahead and query. Let's retrieve all the records from the customers table. So I'm going to expand customers on the My Guitar Shop database. So I'm going to go to My Guitar Shop over here in Object Explorer to the left, and I'm going to expand it. Click on that little plus sign next to it to expand it. Then I'm going to go to the tables area. So I'm going to expand the tables area, and then I'm going to expand the customers table. And then after I've expanded the customers table, I want to see which columns are on there. So I'm going to expand that column, that folder. And now I can see the columns that exist. So I can select any or all of these columns. Customer ID, email address, password, first name, last name, shipping address, ID, and billing address ID. I'm going to select everything. So when I select everything, I would use an asterisk. If I want to select an individual column, I would type the name of that column just as it's spelled over here. So customer ID. Now notice that there's an IntelliSense feature in SQL Server. So it kind of knows, it'll give you suggestions, but only after you type the table, normally only after you type the table that you're going to be retrieving from. Now, once you type the table that you're retrieving from, now IntelliSense knows which columns to choose from. So now if I come over here and type a CU, it gives me all the columns that starts with a CU, and I don't have to type it out. I can just select it. Now, we delimit or we separate each column in our select statement with a comma. And now that's just, there aren't a lot of rules to SQL. There's not a lot of syntax you have to learn. But this is one of the things you have to learn. These clauses here, select, from, where, order by. There are a couple others we'll cover later. And then to separate each thing with each column name with a comma. So let's, as I said, we're going to select all the columns, so we would use an asterisk. So we're going to select all the columns from the customers table, and that's going to satisfy number one. We would just click execute, and we would see all the columns in the customer table. Let's query some actual columns from the customer table. Let's actually do a different table since we've done customers. Let's choose products. So let's get a couple columns from the products table. So I don't know which columns are there. I haven't memorized this entire database. So I'm going to drop it down and see what's out there to select from. So let's say select, and then again, list the columns after the select clause. So let's, and I'm going to go ahead and do from products, list the name of the table you're selecting from. You need to type it exactly as it is, products. DBO is just the default. You don't have to type DBO. So just type products. And now let's let IntelliSense help us. So let's just grab some columns. We'll do product ID. And we just have to use the arrow and then hit enter for IntelliSense to select or we can click on it. And then let's get product name. And let's get list price. Product. And let's do a condition, or let's filter. I only want to see products whose list price is greater than a certain monetary value. So let's say where the list price is greater than, and I don't know what data is out here. We'll just say where it's greater than $150. Now, because this is a number, I'm not going to surround it in quotes or anything. If this were just a character text and not a number, then I would surround it in single quotes. So I only want to run number 2 now. So I'm just going to highlight number 2 and execute it. And we can see list price, only items greater than 150 are selected in our result set. This is called the result set. And I just dragged it over, and I didn't really mean to do that. But you can drag your rearrange the view of your result set. Now, let's sort this also. So let's use order by, and let's sort it by, how about we sort it by list price also? So we would say order it by the list price. And now we can see that it's sorted. Let's query from the orders table now. So I'm going to type number 3, and we're going to query from the orders table. Now this time we're going to select from the orders table, we'll select order ID and card type from the orders table, but we're only going to display card types of Visa. So we're going to go to the orders table. Again, you want to memorize these, select from, where, order by. You're going to be using them for, you just need to memorize that this is how you type a query in SQL, and you're going to want to know that. So we're going to select some columns from the orders table. So I happen to know that there's an orders table on my database, and it's spelled ORDERS. So that's why I typed from orders there. Now it's erroring because I didn't type any columns here yet. So SQL knows the syntax is bad at the moment, but we're going to fix that. So we want to get a couple columns. I think I said order ID. So I typed the table name first so IntelliSense can help me out. And I also want to get the card type. From the orders table, and then we'll do a where. And we only want to see card types that are Visa. So I would say where card type, and we would use the equal operator. So you can go and look up the different operators that you can use in the where clause. Now, we want to select text. So when you're doing text, you enter single quotes around the text. So we only want to see card types of Visa. Now, if I run this, I can just highlight to run only the statements that I want to run. So don't make the beginning student error and say, oh, I'm going to run a query, and you only select one word. You hit execute, and you're going to get an error message. Now, this error message is fairly straightforward. It tells you exactly, well, it doesn't tell you exactly what's wrong. It just says there's a problem near the word select. That's because we only selected one word. It's only going to run, it's going to run exactly what you highlight. So let's highlight the entire, and you don't have to highlight the comment, the numbered comment, but just highlight what you want to run. And there are our card types, Visa, and the order numbers that were ordered with the Visa card. Okay, let's see. Let's select all, let's select customer names from the customer table whose last name is between M and Z. So let's go up here and select from the customer table. Let's go up here and change our query from number 1. And we're going to select, still from the customer table, let's select last name. I'll let IntelliSense help me. And let's select customer ID. And let's put a comma, a customer ID, let's put a comma between the two fields, customer ID and last name. From the customers table, now we need to filter because we only want, when I say I only want certain records, that's a hint that you're going to want to filter them and use the where clause. So where last name is between two values. So there are a couple ways we can do between. We can just type the word between. So between is a keyword that you can use with the where clause. And we can say between M and Z. And it's inclusive, M and Z inclusive. And let's order it, let's sort it so we can kind of see our results a little easier. Let's see our output. So let's sort it by last name. Try that again, last name. Okay. And there are results, and we can see that there are 222 um, records that have been returned. Now let's do it a different way. Instead of between, we can also say greater than. We can use the greater than operator and equal to. So we can say where last name is greater or equal to M and last name is less than or equal to Z. And I believe this will return the same results. Now, another thing you should pay attention to here is each clause, each keyword is on a separate line. This is how I want you typing your statements. Do not type everything and run it on one line and run it off the screen. You're going to be asked to resubmit it if you do not uh, format your SQL statements correctly. Okay, so this is an industry standard, and I try to get you to follow industry standards in this class. Now, as far as what to capitalize, some companies capitalize the entire word select. Some don't bother with the capitalization, but you definitely have to put them all on there online. So I'm not going to enforce how you capitalize. It would be nice if you capitalize the first letter of each word or capitalize the entire clause. But you don't capitalize the column names and table names. That's to me it's excessive. Okay, there's our result set. It's been sorted by last name, and again it returns the same results, 222. Okay, so there are a couple ways. There are normally several ways you can usually write a select statement several ways, and you can get the same results. Okay, I'm just going to look at my notes briefly, just to determine if I'm missing anything that I wanted to cover in this video. There is something called null, and let's see here. So let's look at the orders table one more time. And there's a ship date, and the ship date can be null. So let's just select everything from the orders table. And this is exercise example 4. So let's select everything, and I just want to see what the result set is going to look like, what the data looks like. And there should be a column on here named ship date, and there it is. Now, ship date can potentially be null. As you can see in the output, there are several null values. So if I wanted to select null values, I could do like this, where ship date. And I can't say equal null. At least I don't believe you can. Let's see. Actually, I can. I didn't know I could do it like that. Oh, no, it's actually not working. That doesn't work. I'm surprised it didn't go on air. So really the proper way to say is null. And if I run it, I should see all the orders that have a null ship date. I'm surprised. So we would use is null. So null is potential value that can end up on your database. Null does not mean spaces or zeros. Null means it's not present. The value is not present there. That's all null means, not present. So don't confuse zero with null or space with null. Zeros are not null. Spaces are not null. Okay, so is null is the proper way. You can also say, I believe there's a is not null, and that's the opposite of is null, and we would see only records that have a ship date. Okay, let's see, is there anything else? So I wanted to just kind of look here, and I was just curious why that didn't throw an error. So that's something I would have to look into. That's why that's not throwing an error. But that's all for the video. Thank you for joining me.